HTC One X, HTC One S, they're both hero devices in their own way, according to HTC. But you know what we do in phone dog land when we get two hot devices that both claim to be hero devices? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and it's time for a dogfight. It's part 2, and you know you've been waiting for it, the quadrant standard test on both of these devices, because at least on the global front, this one has a quad-core NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor, this one has a dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, and throw out, like I said in part 1, throw out all those preconceived notions of what you thought Snapdragon was or wasn't, because S4 is a huge improvement over S3. Speeds are incredibly fast. I've been really surprised at the results on both of these devices. But before I get into the speed test, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game, because when you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your widgets, like I'm doing right now on either of these devices or any phone you buy for that matter, and they'll make sure when you walk out the door, you're good to go and you're working in Best Buy Mobile. Now, back to the widgets here, and you can do this on both of these devices. And I'll show you, get your 7 home screens. Just wanted to show you some of the new things. And again, like I said in part 1, if you really want an in-depth look at Sense or the One X itself or the One S, take a look at the review videos, because this is a dogfight, so I'm focusing more on the comparisons between the two devices themselves. But you can still see the home screens here and easily add the analog clock up here, and you'll see that when it lights up, it tells me which space is available and which ones don't have room available for that widget. And of course I can isolate widgets like that. I can search for widgets, and of course I have app shortcuts and then shortcuts in general from either one of these devices. But again, you can see that carousel effect that this one has, that this one over here does not have. So, like I said in part 1, this is coming to AT&T, but it's coming with the same processor that this has. The quad-core processor is going to be thrown out because it's getting LTE when it arrives in the States. So it has to go with the Snapdragon S4, since that's what works with the LTE radios right now. But you get a quick look at the widgets there. Let's load up quadrant standard on both of these devices and take a look. And while we're doing that, I'll talk a little bit about call quality. It's been great. Oh, I kind of cheated there. Pretend you didn't see that. We'll go back through here and take a look at quadrant standard. Call quality has been great on both of these devices. The earpiece is nice and loud, and I find that both of these are really conducive to having phone conversations. They feel great in the hand. This one's nice and curved. This one has a great feel to it as well. I found that even using it for 20, 25, 30 minutes on conference calls. I was on an hour-long conference call with the One X a couple of days ago and was really pleased with how it felt. It had a great feel in the hand, and an hour into it, I'm like, I'm not even feeling the phone. I'm like, I'm not ready to get off the phone, and my hand doesn't hurt. So that was a nice feeling. And the earpiece is nice and loud. Reception, decent on both of these devices. I'm running AT&T, and I had an AT&T SIM card in here. So I took both of them to an AT&T dead spot that I know of in South Charlotte and was pretty pleased. Despite some choppiness, it maintained the call. Obviously, I couldn't actually have the phone call. It was that choppy, but they did a pretty decent job of maintaining the call. So quadrant standard is loading up right now. We'll talk a little bit about battery life as well. Battery life's been pretty solid on both. Obviously a little bit better over here, which is funny because this one has a 4.7-inch display. Let's restart this because this is not cooperating here. Let's go back and let's see what we can do. The police are even up in arms about this. Okay, now that the sirens are gone, we can pick back up where we left off. Like I was saying, the screen's a little bit larger over here, but you do get a bigger battery. You get a 1,800 milliamp hour non-removable battery over here. You get a 1,650 milliamp hour non-removable battery on the One S. Both are pretty decent. I did find that the battery life, at least for me, was a little bit better on the One X. I found that with the moderate use, calling, texting, downloading some apps, surfing the net, doing things like that, I was able to make it about 12 to 13 hours with this device. And also it has really impressive standby times. Something I noticed over the weekend when I wasn't using the phone as much. I came back on Monday and it was at 35% or something like that after not using it on and off on the weekends just to check stuff, but not actively using it as my device. And that was with cellular connectivity on, no Wi-Fi. So very impressive there. This one a little bit less. I noticed about 10 to 11 hours at least in my testing with the One S. So obviously kind of a negligible difference depending on if you want the screen size or not, but still it's a little bit better on the One X, and both of them charge relatively quickly. So 4,928 over here, 4,915. So just barely beaten by the HTC One X. That said, I've seen this thing as high as 5,030, so it actually has surpassed the One X. Actually, last time I did this video, the One X was beaten by the One S. So keep it in mind, we look at Snapdragon processors in the past, we kind of associated those with some lag and just some issues in the past. The S4 is a totally different animal, and it can compete head-to-head with the NVIDIA Tegra 3. So something to keep in mind if you just have that taste of Snapdragon in your mouth. It has definitely improved a lot across the board. So like I said, you got your typical setup here. You got 7 home screens on both of these devices, and let's go into speed test. Actually, we're not going to do speed test because we're on Wi-Fi right now, but just to point out some of the differences here while we're still in part 2. You can obviously see the new Gmail interface from Android 4.0 ported over to Sense 4, so no real changes here, and you can see the shortcuts down here, which somebody did point out. I thought this was pretty cool. If you come down here and you're like, what in the world is this? It looks like a keychain. You can press and hold, and it brings up a shortcut and where it says show all labels. Then of course I can access my email accounts, and if I had more than one synced up, I could see that. I can see how many unread messages I have, and I can come in here, for example, to Google Plus and see that I got an update here, and I'd have a picture. If I had this person in a contacts, I'd have a picture, I can reply. I have a little menu over here where I can hit reply all or forward, and then I have these buttons down here. Now something that I did notice, and this is kind of an inconsistent part of Ice Cream Sandwich. Obviously on an older device like the Samsung Galaxy Note, you have your menu button down here at the bottom. You don't have that on an Android 4.0 device. You'll notice there's no menu button, so it's left to be, depending on which software or which application you're in, it just varies in terms of location. For example, let's go into TweetDeck here and take a look, and you can see that it pops up really terribly. Like, I mean, the whole bar is taken up to, let me go back so you can see that. The whole bar is taken up just by the menu buttons. I can come down here and see all the different menu settings, but again, it's just ugly. It doesn't look very good as opposed to it being up here on the top, and you'll notice in like an official Gmail application, something like that, you'll see them up here and down here. They're kind of nice and neat, but when you go into something like Facebook, you'll see that it's just really ugly, and down here at the bottom it just takes up a lot of screen real estate. So it's one of those things where I'm like, they really should have planned this a little bit better. It should integrate a little bit better maybe with the background of Facebook, but you know, again, that's just kind of ugly to see a giant black bar with one little button in the middle. And that's from an aesthetic perspective. If you're somebody that's really big on aesthetics, I think you might find that a little bit frustrating. So that's something to keep in mind. 8 megapixel cameras on both of these devices, 1080p HD video recording. And one of my favorite settings, we'll come in here and take a picture. Actually, we'll just use each other or use the respective devices here. And we'll come in and take a look. Fantastic cameras on both of these. I've been really pleased. And one of my favorite features, and obviously there's no physical button, but I've got it here. I can do a burst mode kind of setting where I can just take rapid pictures. So if your son's playing soccer or your daughter's doing dance or whatever it is, you can take quick burst shots, and you can find the picture that you like the best. You've got flash shortcuts, of course, settings here, which you can easily access, and then of course some other stuff down here where you can do some different types of scenes with the camera. So we'll come in here and say, you know, let's just say this phone's moving, we want to take quick pictures. I can come in here, and let's do this. Hang on. No, let's go back. Oh, I have the sound turned off, that's why. So come in here and just take a bunch of pictures, and you can see them populating up there, and on silent. And then when I let go, it's going to save the photos. I can come in here and select the best photo that I liked out of the 20 that I took in that burst mode. Let's say I like that one for whatever reason. I can click best shot, and I can delete the ones that I don't like, or I can keep them all in a gallery, so when I go back into the gallery itself, you can see this little button down here, and I can go into continuous shot and see all the different pictures that I took, and I can scroll back and forth between the various shots that I've had over the course of time that I've had the device. Same thing over here. Go to the One X and take a picture, and you can hear it there doing its thing. And when I let go, same idea here. Continuous shot, and I can delete, find the best shot, and I can delete the ones that I don't like. Now, both of these take fantastic pictures. This was an area that HTC admitted that they were trying to improve upon in their press conference at Mobile World Congress, and they really do take impressive shots. You can see some of my shots here with Panera Bread Cup. I've got an eaten apple. I've got a salad here, just very vibrant color on both displays, on the Super AMOLED display and on the HD display. But you can see here, beautiful color there when focused in. And then same thing over here. As well. Let's come in here and do gallery, and we'll take a look at these also, and you've got some great shots. We'll go to that, and you can see nice color there as well. So you can see very clear, very easy to see, beautiful images, and for an 8 megapixel shooter, pretty impressive. You've got a flash here, and then of course on the back of this one you have a flash as well. The designs are a little bit different, and this one kind of sticks out from the device itself. So camera department, fantastic on both of these devices. Now, one more thing to point out, you've got a bar down here at the bottom. Obviously this has changed a little bit. You do get the same personalization options on both of these that you get on previous HTC devices. I can come into personalize, for example. I can change the scene, I can change the skin, so I have both of these set to aluminum, that's right, aluminum skins. I can come over here to serene and apply that, and once I apply that skin, it's going to bring in a different color scheme, it's going to bring in a different dock at the bottom. And then you can see It's loading up right now, and while that was loading, I'll switch over to this one. So you've got the dock here, and you can easily move stuff in and out of it. So if you want the Play Store to be down here, formerly known as Android Market, if you want navigation to be down there, also known as Google Maps in the States, you can bring that down there. You have the ability to do kind of whatever you want to in terms of customization there. So you've got a nice little dock down there to put your most frequently used applications in. But back to personalization, here's your lock screen. It's the same over here as well. I'll have weather configured on this one, and that's what I'm kind of getting into with this review. You can come down here and take a look at personalize and go to wallpaper. You can change your lock screen style. You can change those individual shortcuts that you saw on the lock screen, these 4 little buttons or 4 little apps right there, and I can change the style. One of my favorites is this productivity one where it shows my missed calls, my messages, my emails, and my calendar stuff all on one unlock screen. So I can apply that, and if I get 10 new messages and 5 emails, I'm going to see at least some of those pop up like that on the device itself. So that's a nice little feature. I find that to be really useful, especially for birthdays like that, or messages or calls during the workday where I can't necessarily get to them as quickly as I'd like to. So there are a lot of personalization options. Both of these are great choices, and it's really going to depend on what you want. If you want a device that fits in the hand, a little bit smaller, it feels a little bit better in terms of the pocket, or if you want one with an HD display, you're all about consuming content, you really want something with, you know, a huge display because you watch a lot of YouTube videos, then the One X is going to be the device. So obviously a winner has to be declared in the dogfight just by a narrow margin, and again, it depends on what you want, but by a narrow margin I'm giving it to the One X because in terms of features, 4.7-inch HD display pushes this thing ahead. It's got a bigger battery, which despite having a bigger display, I find that the battery life is really impressive on this device. So it gets a slight nod ahead of the HTC One S. That said, both of these fantastic devices, you really can't go wrong. S4 is coming to this device when it lands on AT&T, so we'll have more review content, obviously, with the AT&T version of the HTC One X and the T-Mobile version of the HTC One S, so stay tuned. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with both of these devices. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Follow us on Google+, gplus.to/PhoneDog. And be sure to hit me up on Twitter and let me know what you think of these devices at PhoneDog_Aaron and on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Also, be sure to vote for your favorite device in our rankings program, PhoneDog.com/rankings. These are in there now, so if you love it, you got one, you think it's the best device ever, cast your vote and let it be heard at PhoneDog.com/rankings. Thanks for watching. Much more coverage to come on HTC's new superstar phones, the One X and the One S, on PhoneDog.com.